Hello, Istvan. Nice to see you again, this
Hi,
time
Zenaid.
online.
A
Hi,
pleasure.
how are you doing?
Good, thank you very much. Yourself?
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this short talk, actually, Ciklopea Coffee Chat, a series of our short talks with language industry professionals. Today it is you. We are very glad that we have you here today. So please give us a brief introduction about yourself in a few words. What do you do now? What do you used to do? And that's it.
Thank you for the invitation. So my name is Istvan, and I'm working for a company called Be Lazy at the moment. We are trying to innovate in the translation supply chain. And I'm Hungarian. I live in Spain. Before Be Lazy, I was also doing some work with an LSP in Spain called On Global. I was doing some consultancy work with Nimdzi, and from where most people would remember me was my past with MemoQ, which used to be called Kilgrey back then. A couple of years ago, that was like 6 years ago, that I'm not with them anymore.
Time passes by really quickly. Yes, I remember you also meeting you a few years ago. I think it was Krakow, where you gave a presentation at an ELIA event. So yes, you have been active in the industry for some years now, right?
Since 2004, actually.
Since 2004. Okay, that's great. So we can say that you are an expert, being involved in many areas. But basically, what do you do now, and how did your, I think, business background, right, help you to establish your work and to focus on innovation? I would put it that way.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am like most people mistake me for a technical person, but my background is in business. So I studied business, I studied finances, and finances in IT. So it's kind of like banking finances banking IT is my background mostly. But I never really worked in that area. I found it a little bit boring, honestly. And I always had a flair for translation. So when I was 16, I started translating. Then when I was at university, I actually made my living with translation. Others go and do, barista jobs and like bartending. I never did that. I translated books instead. And I only had like a couple of years of translation experience, but I also studied translation and interpreting afterwards. I actually wanted to be an interpreter, which I never became. And then I also was working on natural language processing after this. That was my first job after my first company that I founded failed, because at the university they failed to tell us that sales is a very important job, and even if you do perfect management and perfect innovation and perfect marketing, but it's not going to take you very far. So I had to go and work in the field of natural language processing. And I think that's where a lot of the inspiration for the innovation came from. So I've always liked to try to help people, help professionals. And given that I had some background in translation, I mean, everything, project management and everything else relates to translation and business. So in this industry, a lot of that is relating to these two areas. And this is how I think I'm much more on the product management side or the service management side than I am on the actual technical side. There is always people helping me with the real technology stuff. Of course, I can do basic things. So it's not that I wouldn't be able to write a script, but I am not a professional.
Cool. But so actually, what does your team and you do? What is Be Lazy today? What do you offer to your clients?
So what Be Lazy is today is obviously just a subset of what it's going to be tomorrow, if you like.
Yes, I like the answer, yeah.
But basically the idea for us is that there is like a lot of these microtransactions, a lot of these small jobs in this industry, which is something that causes a lot of extra work. And it's also a lot of inefficiencies. And it's understandable why this exists from the corporate perspective, because basically it's much easier to simply push out everything that's coming. And what a lot of the translation companies do is batching this into manageable units, which relate to minimum fees charged by the vendors. But this batching is slowing down the process. So what we are trying to do is to make sure that, even if there is a supply chain, because we've also seen the situation that, enterprises, if they can, they also like to work with in-house translators or with freelance translators, because it cuts the middleman, and the middleman is not always the problem from the costing perspective. It's a problem from the timing perspective, from the management perspective, from the communication perspective. And so what we are trying to do is helping the middleman, who are actually super useful, because when it comes to sourcing translators, it's always easier to source translators locally. So what I see is that a lot of the single language vendors that the multilingual vendors are contracting have a much better access to the local markets, have a much better understanding of the local, the requirements of the local market, and also of the quality of the vendors, who can be trained, who cannot be trained. Obviously, it matters if you're able to speak the language, because you can much better understand the issues than from a QA tool in a translation environment. So what we're trying to do is basically making those steps automatic that can be automated, and allowing the single language vendors in the one hand to work with multilingual vendors and the continuous projects more efficiently, and also allowing multilingual vendors to improve their processes by introducing automation for customers that are sending projects in a very recurring manner. So one thing is translation management systems, where they have very well described projects, but still there are a lot of SLAs that they need to comply with. And the SLAs are not technical terms. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to turn the business terms of an agreement into a technology solution. And also this is even if somebody needs to work with, let's say, emails. Because if you know that a customer of yours always sends you in this language pair, always sends you with the requirement of, let's say, 3 business days of delivery, always requests translation and proofreading, then it's kind of, you just need to create a project and add the file, and you don't need anything else. So what we're trying to do is make the work of language service providers more efficient. This is what we do today.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that summary. I can say that you helped us also while doing that, because yes, many projects coming along, and as you said, if they are predictable, why not? Why not use this automatization of processes? We have also been writing about it, and what were our challenges, and yes.
We've done a nice implementation with a custom system.
Yeah, with our custom system Orchestrum, which also evolves from day to day. Actually, today we entered an interesting thing also, quarterly business reviews, also hopefully predictable amount of work coming along, and actually it can help us plan our production and also, the volumes ahead. So yes, automatization is something that we like, and we also like Be Lazy. We would definitely recommend it. What will Be Lazy be tomorrow? Do you know the answer?
I do have some ideas.
What is something on your mind, that you can share with us now?
I mean, what I have on the mind is obviously that LSPs are just one part of the story. So if you look at the whole community, freelancers are also there. The availability of freelancers is something which is the holy grail of this industry. Freelancers also have to work with these portals. So I definitely see this happen. I also see some more functionality going into the enterprise world. into the automating the different functions in a company, which use somewhat different systems than a translation company does. But still, they also need to keep track of all these projects in a similar fashion. So what I'm seeing is the system like encompassing more and also more functionality. And we also work right now, I mean, we already have something. We added this year the email handling, which is something that was very appreciated by the market, because a lot of people don't work with translation management systems, but still have the recurring work. And then we also added or are adding soon the CRM integrations, which is actually helping to separate the business management aspects of the project management aspects, keeping that in the project management systems or the business management systems, helping to separate that from the sales aspects, which is like pipelining and all the predictions, and making sure that there is no double data entry. So we will also have very soon a HubSpot into Plunet, into XTRF integration, back and forth. And we built it so that we can add like any CRM and any business management system into that.
Good to know. Good to know. Yes, you mentioned freelancers, and actually I enjoyed your talk a few weeks ago at Mid Central Europe conference, where actually you spoke about the differences between freelancers and LSPs or MLWs, if we can put it that way, the differences. But actually, yes, you tried, from my opinion, in a way, you know, to put both sides at the same level when it comes to challenges and when it comes to being part of one community and better understanding of each other. What actually what happened before at some other session at the conference was that freelancers once again stood up for themselves in the meaning that they wanted, you know, more flexibility from LSPs, higher rates, and all the other stuff, which we actually sometimes cannot do. We as being, I would say, here in the middle, sometimes try to help our freelancers. That is actually what LSP, I'm sure every LSP thinks, but definitely there is still room for improvement, right, on this sector. Do you have a comment?
Absolutely. I mean, so the interesting thing about the translation community or the translators is that, first of all, there are many people in it, and most of them are silent. So what I always see is just a couple of people standing up and speaking out, but the majority is silent. So it's very easy to kind of neglect what they think. And if they don't speak, then you don't understand. So I completely empathize with the LSPs. And you need to go and drill, but like in the from the pressure that you've got, from the resources that you have, how can you do that? It's not easy. But on the other hand, I think a translator's work is best understood if you try to do it.
Yeah.
And there are like very many people. I mean, one thing that was interesting also at Mid Central Europe was the presentation by Carmen Cisneros and Giada Gerotto, which actually they pointed out one thing, that 25% of the translators were thinking about leaving the industry or the profession in the last year. There's another thing that I also...
What the percentage? Yeah.
It's high. It's very high. If it's 1 year, it's very, very high. That means that every 4 years, you should have like, you know, new people, like at least considering.
They left, yes.
That's one thing. The other thing that is interesting for me was Common Sense Advisory had a report that was referenced by Libor Safar in LinkedIn. I can't remember the exact figures, but that approximately 30 or 40% of a translator's job today is administration, and the rest is translation, which is very high. I mean, if you are an employee, you need to go to a conference, you need to bring back the expenses and everything. It's not 30-40% of the time that you spend at the conference that you deal with it, and you already hate it, right?
Yeah, it's like it's too much. It's a lot.
when you have to double check, like, when did you pay for this dinner or for this ticket or taxi bill or something? So it's even worse than that. And then besides that, there is like a differentiation. There is more crowdsourcing, you know, different types of people enter the business with, for example, AI training doesn't require professional translators. So it's also like less appreciated than before, the professional translation. So in this situation, I think that translators are in a tough period in their lives, because also you hear that their rates are not growing, where everything else is growing, like every price is growing, and it's
every
kind
product,
of like, yeah, I mean, you may do 30% more with, let's say, machine translation. I'm just making up a number here.
Yeah.
But if in the meantime, you know, the last 5 years or 10 years, the total inflation was 50%, then machine translation is not enough to keep people in the business.
Not helpful enough.
So
yes.
it's like you just have to find something to keep it still attractive. And I remember that when I was a student, which was like 25 years or more
Who would
ago.
tell? Who would tell?
So when I was a student and I was a translator, I felt totally appreciated. I felt that I was paid amazingly. And you know, I remember that there were like one word I could charge something which would be today like 3.5, 4 euro cents.
Nobody asked for a price, right?
Yeah, well, at that time, 3.5, 4 euro cents in Hungary, in that era, was worth many times more than what it would be today. So it would be much that time, like what I could buy from that 3.5 euro cents would be today something that I can buy for like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that we may not neglect, that
we
maybe
have to keep it in
when
mind.
we came to this industry was doing better.
Yeah, now
It's
a
still a
lot of things
required one.
changed. Yes, a lot of things change. You mentioned post-editing. Please tell me, from your opinion and from what you know from the community, is it still something unpopular with freelancers or with translators in general, or do you think that now it became part of an ordinary work day, I would say?
I mean, definitely it's much more accepted than a couple of years ago. Definitely people who are professional translators have given in. So
yeah,
they are doing this
offer
job.
that as well, right?
Yeah, and I do think that there is the improvement in machine translation. There is still bad machine translation and good machine translation like before, but maybe the proportion is not the same. I mean, I think that there is also this, like if you are pressing something long enough, it will be adopted. That's what I feel. Like there is a certain resistance that after a time goes down. And it's still not the standard. So we did look into the Be-Lazy database, like what's the percentage of post-editing going through. Something like 30%, if I remember correctly. I don't have the exact figures with me here, but it was definitely not 50% plus, even in the microtransactions.
Cool. Yes, because I also, when you mentioned translators and from Hungary, I met many in Central Europe who actually offered post editing as well. And then I realized things have changed. You know, they have their business cards ready with mentioning post editing, and that was cool. Okay, yes, many things have changed during the last couple of years. I have also not been at a conference in a few years, but now when I came and saw you guys in person, I really, I felt the energy, which I missed because every time when I go on a conference, even though I come home devastated and tired, especially now, but it felt positive. I don't know what was your impression after Mid Central Europe. Were you satisfied? And do you plan any other conferences throughout this year or next year?
Sure, I do thrive at conferences. I like being there. I like being both the existing like old friends, like meeting them, but also meeting the new people.
So many new people, right? That's
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
impression. Like the veterans
Completely
and the new
scary
people.
to me, like completely scary. Yeah. I'm always having a hard time, like starting a conversation with a new person, but it's very nice to see it. It's very rewarding to see what people are doing and like who is joining the industry and what are they up to. So I definitely enjoy when I manage to get through the initial hurdles.
Shock. Yeah.
But it's been a nice conference. There have been a couple of highlight presentations, I would say. I think it was very high standards. I only have one more scheduled for this year, which is a different approach. It is the Take Home in Germany that I'm going to join.
My colleagues are gonna be there, so you will
Great. I mean,
see
that's a different thing because I will not be going to the presentations, but even if I went, it's very anonymous. There we will not be with a booth either, so it's going to be mostly about meeting up old acquaintances. So that's going to be
having
like
a coffee or a beer.
Yeah, I'm curious how many people will join this year, because obviously the last in-person conference, I think it was 2019, and nothing else.
So yes, thanks Istvan for sharing your really important work. We do believe that at Ciklopea really, and we appreciate it. So if you have any other tips for the LSP community or for the client community, for freelancers, please share it with us as this final remark, so that we can close this coffee chat and return back to our everyday work.
I think my tip is like very general, so I don't have any particular super tip here. There are maybe two things. First of all, try to understand whatever position you are in, what your partners, your customers, your vendors are doing. Try to ask questions, try to build like mental models of it, because I think it always helps in understanding their problems or their approaches. And if you understand them, you are more likely to succeed with them. This is not to the LSP community or to the freelancer or to the enterprise. It's like for everyone. This is like a general thing. And the other thing is that like don't fall into the trap of busy work. Because if you are filling every minute of your time with something that is specific to the daily work, then it's very hard to scale up. It's like if you don't get time to reflect on what you're doing and try out something, and it doesn't have to be much. I mean, it can be like 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week. It doesn't have to be more than that. But if you are not able to find the time to do something else than what you really have to do and what is part of your job description, then I think it's much harder to empathize with the others on the one hand. And on the other hand, it's also like you're probably missing out on something that could be an opportunity. And that opportunity will probably be specific to you. Again, this is not to one or the other part of the industry, but it's to everybody.
Yeah.
Like
Very
love
nice.
your job, maybe. That's
love your job. Very nice,
even if it's sometimes hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
We've
There
all
are
been
days
there.
when it's really hard. Yeah, especially as you said, when you work with potential new clients, when you try to explain why you are a match, why you differentiate, etc. But the rewards are there, of course. When you help a client, when they realize that you can be a partner to them, then it's rewarding for the whole team.
With system, and you do this with variations, and you are experimenting a bit in your pitch, then probably you will get to a much better pitch faster than if you always have to like just improvise on the spot. Because like what you always realize, and this is like I owe a lot of I owe a lot to my former colleague Agnes Gazsó, who taught me this, that like we go down to the deepest of the deepest in the process, and we discuss it, and we spend a lot of time on that. But after that, it's a thing done. Like for years, you don't have to think about your pitch. You don't have to think about your value proposition. You have it somehow worked out once you have worked it out, and then you can go on to something else. You can work on your production methods. You can work on your financial visibility, reporting, whatever you need to work on, and then get it done. And after a while, of course, you will have to go back to your pitch because 5 years have changed, so the world has changed. So if you don't go back to your pitch, then there's a problem. But you just need to refine it, and that's, I think, a good feeling.
Thanks for reminding us that a good process is always welcome and something that is needed. And also thank you, Istvan, for reminding us that the comfort zone is not a good place for us, right?
Well, it's good for a short run.
Yes, but definitely, yeah, there are things waiting. There are other things that can be not that far away, but we just have to, as you said, focus on them. So perfect. My cats, graffiti cats from Croatian artist Lunar and me are saying hi to you now. Take care. It was really nice. We smiled a lot and the day's okay. So perfect, Istvan. Thanks a lot. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you, Zana.
Keep us informed about your innovative projects in the future as well.
I appreciate this chat. Thank you very much. Take care and goodbye to the cats as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.